They control trillions of dollars, move markets, transform nations. In the US, Trump has announced he's creating the country's first ever sovereign wealth fund. So has Australia missed a golden opportunity?
It's a very exciting event.
The very exciting event, the creation of a sovereign wealth fund for the United States.
Which we've never had.
Sovereign wealth funds are basically big piggy banks created by governments using excess cash from budget or trade surpluses, or most commonly, money made from a nation's natural resources like oil and gas. The contents of the piggy bank are then invested to create more cash. In Trump's case, a possible investment in TikTok. Or they're used to improve a country's standard of living. There are more than 100 such funds across the world, managing almost $13 trillion in assets.
We'll have the greatest sovereign wealth fund of them all.
But Trump has some competition on his hands. The world's biggest, Norway, created in 1990 to manage the massive wealth created by the discovery of oil. Norway's fund is currently worth more than $2.8 trillion. That's about $500,000 per Norwegian. The fund, now one of the world's largest investors, owning an average of 1.5% of stocks listed worldwide.
They started a third of a century ago. They said, we've got oil today, we won't have oil forever, for children, grandchildren, and to smooth it all out over time. We'll stack it away when times are good.
It's the backbone of the country's welfare state, providing Norwegians with generous unemployment benefits, a year of shared parental leave, healthcare, and university that's just about free. Under the Howard government, Australia set up its own future fund in 2006, off the back of a once-in-a-generation mining boom. Kevin Rudd tried to turbocharge Australia's finances through a mining company's super profits tax.
Tax the tax! Tax the tax!
The backlash from big corporations scuttled that idea and his prime ministership, leaving our fund at a modest $230 billion.
Here in Australia, we basically give our gas to multinationals to export, and then they minimise their corporate tax. It's pathological to not say we should be getting a fair return because, as you said, once it's gone, it's gone.
So as the US attempts to build
The greatest sovereign wealth fund of them all.
is it worth reflecting on our own fund and the generation of missed opportunities in making Australia great again?
The world has been paying us a fortune for our rocks, whether it's iron ore or coal. Australia has had spectacular luck, but been spectacularly less good at stacking away money during the good times.
Well, economics expert Steve Hamilton joins us now. Steve, can we become Norway or is it too late?
Norway back in 1990, all that time ago, set up a sovereign wealth fund that basically captured all of the extra revenues Norway gets from oil. Today, it's $2.7 trillion. The future fund, which we have, is about $200 billion, about 10 times smaller. You know, we lost a big opportunity back in 2010 when we got rid of the mining tax to kind of save some of those revenues. If we'd done that, you know, last year, I think we got about $80 billion of extra mining revenue. We have, I think, lost a big opportunity to capture some of those gains from the boom time.
But on the bright side, Steve, a lot of corporations got really rich.
Yeah, and that's nice. That's fun.
Yeah, right.
Good on them. And in the meantime, the government has a plan to direct like some of this $230 billion future fund into housing, energy transition and infrastructure. What do you think of that?
The Future Fund's job is to make money. I think the Future Fund should be focusing on making money because it's taxpayers' money at the end of the day. And if the government wants to do all these other things, then I think they should budget for them, pay for them, and do them, and go to the ballot box and see if the public likes it. I tend to prefer to keep those things separate.
So, but what do we do if we're just making money? When does the money get spent? And then, like, who decides who spends the money? Like, when is it a rainy enough day to do it? Because it's like, if I live in a share house with these guys, and then we have a kiddie.
Keep it realistic.
So we have so Waleed has a house we all rent off him. But if we live in a house and there's a kiddie, like, do we decide that one person is in charge of spending it, or do we all get a say?
Look, I think, one idea, I mean, the Future Fund, for example, what it's actually going to do is it's going to cover the cost of public servants' pensions, which is going to cost a fortune, right? So instead of that hitting the budget, the Future Fund's going to cover that. So setting that up in advance, was one way to deal with this big looming crisis in the future. And it just means the money's there, right? So that if there ever is a need to use it, it's there, right? Or the other thing you could do is obviously just, spend some of the revenues, right? So spend some of the return and have that offset some taxes, lower people's taxes, and that's good for the economy.
What do you make of Trump's sovereign wealth fund plan?
The US government has $36 trillion of debt, and they are adding $2 trillion a year to that debt pile. So if they want to set up a sovereign wealth fund, I'm not really sure where they're going to get the money from.
Well, they're going to get it by buying TikTok.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Haven't you heard?
Yeah.
Should we be investing then in like crypto or maybe Threads?
I like that.
Would that be a good idea?
No, please, no. That's the last thing we want to do, right? What we want to do is we want to lower risk. We want to think about the long term, invest in things that we know over the long term are going to make money. And to be honest, that's the share market, which is mostly where the Future Fund and the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund invest.
Steve, thanks for your advice.
Cheers, guys.
Very interesting.
Pot of money sitting there.
Yeah, but also it makes me so annoyed because that's the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is for the whole nation to benefit from, not just 6 people.
But, sorry, what?
One of whom is at the desk.
Are you getting the money?
No, I don't know where this came from. And by the way, if I'm renting the house, you're definitely not a tenant.
Give me the garage. I'll set up a lounge in the back.
Who's going to be the first romance in the share?
Oh, OK, let's...
Maybe I don't want to know.
What are you annoyed at? The fact we have a future fund or the fact there's not that much in it because we didn't
The fact
pass
that
the
there's
mining
not that much in it. And also, when you look at that, you're like, who's protesting about big miners having to pay an extra tax?
Don't you remember the ad blitz? That was
I do, but why was everyone, we better just give it to them?
No, because it's the argument you always get, which is it'll cost jobs, this is the engine of the economy, you're going to sacrifice all that, the economic growth from that. It's the same argument. It's played out every single time.
Why don't we go?
Oh, here we go.
There's a roster. Every Australian each day gets a go. You get the Sovereign Wealth Fund. You get to go to the casino. All on black. See what happens.
And you want to be my tenant?
Yes, please, Waleed. Please.